Shalom, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Danal, back again with the brothers, brother Isaiah, brother Azrael, coming back again with another video, man, for kind of like a freestyle Friday. Today's video, um, hopefully it's not too long. It shouldn't be too long, man. Trying to get in and knock it out. I got a video that I want to share. But this is entitled "Heavy is the Head That Wears the Crown." It's just entitled, and this is for our nation, right? It's kind of like a capsule video, so to speak, man. Just to be able to look back on the time that we're in now in the Israelite community, to see whether or not we've grown out of this in the future. Something to just kind of look back on, to reflect on where we're at right now in the Hebrew Israelite community in 2024 this fall, right? And the title is "Heavy is the Head That Wears the Crown." Let me see if I can da, 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 da. I'll just read it off my phone because I don't have it pulled up. But if you guys don't know what the saying is, the proverb, "Heavy is the head that wears the crown," I'll enlighten you real quick, and maybe you can kind of see where this video is going. So right here, I'm gonna read it out loud. It says, "Heavy is the head that wears a crown" is an idiom that means people with great responsibility carry a heavy burden or stress and have difficulty relaxing. Right. So pretty much, um, to whom much is given, much is required. That's one of the precepts we got in here too. But just to show you where we're gonna be headed in this type of video, right? Like I said, hopefully it's not long. I'm gonna share this quick video real quick, and then we'll get into it, right? I might not even play the whole 2 minutes of this guy. Let's see if I can skip it a little bit to like right here. Let me know if the sound is okay.
Years when a man changes into the man who becomes. Just be careful who you change into.
It's a little low.
This guy.
I like what he said right there, man. He said, just be careful who you change into, right? When you come into this truth, man, be careful who you change into, right? See if I can play that back.
Be careful who you change into. This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Are you afraid that I'm going to turn into some kind of criminal? Quit worrying about me, okay? Something.
He said, are you afraid that I'm going to turn into some type of criminal? And when we come into this truth, man, criminal being criminal towards our people, being criminal towards his gospel, right? And we come into this truth. I'm not gonna say all, but a lot of people have this conversation with somebody, whether it be a family member, whether it be a friend, a brother or sister in the truth, where it's like, hey man, this truth is precious. Don't abuse it. You know what I'm saying? And he's pretty much saying, do you think I'm gonna become a criminal with this information? Do you think I'm not trying to help my people? And he kind of blows off his grandfather, right?
Things different. I'll figure it out. Stop lecturing me, please.
I don't mean to lecture and I don't mean to preach. And I know I'm not your father.
Then stop pretending to be.
And a lot of times, man, when we receive some wisdom, that's usually the response as Israelites. Man, we know what we're doing. I think we've kind of gotten away from it now, but the heavy response used to be, it shouldn't matter my delivery. You know what I'm saying? One thing that people used to run to all the time was, though I be rude in speech, but not in knowledge, right? Khan, the OG Peter Parker, right? His grandfather's telling him, hey, look, man, the to much power comes great responsibility. With great, kind of like the Obadiah said, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And that's one thing we got to realize in this Israelite community, right? And I think it's a time for maturity to take place. And I think we've been far without it for far too long, right? So heavy is the head that wears the crown. Let's get into it, right? On this late night live. Shout out to the brother Obadiah for being on with us, man. You know what I'm saying? The brother always in the spirit, always willing to labor in somewhat form, fashion, shape, you name it, right? I'm gonna share my screen. Let's get into some scriptures real quick. Exodus 19 and 6, if one of the brothers want to read this.
Exodus 19 and 6. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
Come, man. A nation of kings and priests, man. Right, is what was prophesied over our nation, man. And I bring that out because, hey, look, man, heavy is the head that wears the crown. We are the ones that are supposed to be wearing this crown, but with this crown comes some things, right? Just like Peter Parker's grandfather said, with great power comes great responsibility. One thing I want to highlight too in Peter Parker, man, if you track his movies of Spider-Man, if you track his journey, one of the recent Spider-Man movies, right, it goes into how he kind of loses himself and he doesn't know how to pull his punches, right? And what it means to pull his punches is he's following all the way through, meaning he's actually hurting people, right? He's actually killing folks when he punches them. He's not controlling his power, right? And so a lot of times in the nation, a lot of things we do, we don't understand, man. We can be not pulling our punches like we should be, right? Sometimes we go for those low blows. Sometimes we do things that that we can't take back. And this is just towards people that's in the truth already and towards people that we're trying to bring into the truth, right? We have to have a level of knowing how to pull our punches, so to speak, right? Because of this. Let's go to Luke 12 and 48. All right. We got to learn how to pull our punches. I can make a whole lesson on that alone. All right.
Luke 12 and 48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
Come on, man. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. To whom much is given, much is required. A lot of people don't know that phrase is coined in the Bible by who we call our Lord and Savior, right? He's the one who coined that infamous proverb, right? And it goes on to say, and to whom men have committed much to, of him they will ask more, right? More money, more problems. The more in stature you are, the more you gotta, the more people you're responsible for, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? And again, man, we read a little bit of what that means, and it's people with great responsibility likely carry heavy burdens, right? And that's what happens when we come into this truth. We carry burdens, so to speak, for our people and for the people that's in this truth, right? And that burden, man, that we're entrusted with is this gospel, and we got to take care of that thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Matthew 18 and 10. to whom much is given, much is required, man. And that's something we got to remember. Um, you know, we always, I'm not gonna pull this precept, but we always talk about, man, being apt to teach, you know. And a lot of people don't understand that that is a, I feel like that's, and I'm not going to add to the law, but I feel like that should be one of the pillars in the law, is everything that goes in, that's encompassing of being apt to teach in that passage, man. Teaching with compassion, teaching to those that oppose themselves, right? It comes with a certain level of respect, right? For those who are trying to gain, right? But you can go ahead and read this real quick.
Matthew 18 and 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I
Right,
say,
man. Before you get into that, before we get into that, man, I wanted to bring something up too, right? There was a video on Instagram I sent out to some of the brothers, man, and a brother hit me back. It was a funny video. I'm not gonna play it because it had too much profanity in it, right? But it was saying pretty much when you have that friend that's getting into the Bible and they're not all the way there yet, and he still he still kind of has a potty mouth, right? But he means well. There's a brother, man. His name sounds with Laramie, and he hit me back. And he was like, "Bro, this is so real because I got partners like this in the world, man, that I'm really dealing with." And he was like, "Man, important that I don't pretty much come on too strong and try to cut them off, or like correct them too strong when it comes to their language, just because I feel like it's a part of them coming into this thing, and he feels like they'll clean it up in the end." And I was telling him, man, I know certain people that's the same way, um, you know, and one thing about it is, man, that takes discernment, whether or not you want to go in there aggressive and be like, "Hey, bro, I can't hang around you. You're gonna be talking like that." You know what I'm saying? That's one thing he's doing it if they doing it around your kids and stuff like that, man. But you got to know when and where to, be aggressive with your corrections, and you got to understand what type of spirit people are moving in. And if you can see progress of them coming in this thing, and you can see that the spirit is going to take place to weed out some of the things or the negative characteristics that they hold, sometimes you just got to let it play out. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to let it play out. But it did remind me of that, that there's a time and place for everything, right? There's a time and place for everything. So you can read that for me one more time.
Matthew 18 and 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven.
Right, man. These little ones can be your brothers and sisters in this truth. These little ones can be people that we're trying to spread this gospel to. And a lot of people don't realize. I mean, I remember I had a back and forth with somebody a couple years ago. I think Azrael did too, with the same person. But it was a Christian. It was an Edomite Christian, and he brought this up, and he literally thought I was talking about actual infants and stuff like that, right? Now these little ones are the children of God, the children of promise, right? And we got to take care of the children of promise. You know what I'm saying? And so we talk about it all the time. When you go into these things, man, there's proverbs like you win more bees with honey, right? Versus you going in there and beating at the wasp nest, right? You win more bees over with honey. And then we also talk about the not replacement theology, but the replacement theory of, hey man, we about to yank this chair from under you. We got to be able to replace it with something. That something is, it's easier if I take that chair from you, and as you're falling, I slip you a pillow for you to fall onto, right? That lessens the blow, and sometimes we got to find a way to do that. I think,
People also say too, especially in the truth, we get accustomed to saying, "Oh, that's a cut. Somebody just cut you." We say that why? Because the Bible says that the word is sharper than a sword, right? Piercing the flesh. So we say, oh, when you get confounded or when you get proven wrong by the scriptures, we say, oh, that's a cut. But like the brother's saying, man, when you cut these little ones, what you gonna do when your baby or your toddler or your child gets a scrape or a cut? You're gonna put a band-aid on it. You're gonna put some ointment on it. You're gonna coddle them. You're gonna tell them it's
That's
all right. You
that's
gotta
a
you got to do the same thing when you cutting these people, right? We're not doing it just to prove a point, right? We're doing it so that we can heal them.
con, man. And just to speak on that, man, because you kind of reading them, you kind of getting into my notes now, man. You know, it's the spirit. And to piggyback on that and to piggyback on the brother that DM me about his friends that, you know, are coming into this thing but still got a little profanity problem. You know, dealing with kids, dealing with infants, toddlers, babies, right? One thing you got to understand is that you got to keep it fun. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it fun. And what I mean by that is when you're teaching them anything new, right? The easiest way they're going to learn is if they want to, right? And so if you take the fun factor away, not even necessarily fun, but if you take that factor away of is that enjoyable factor, a lot of times, you know, they're going I know for our experience with kids, if you take that fun factor away, a lot of times they're going to walk off on you. They're going to, you know, get into something else. You got to keep it fun, right? Just same thing for like if you're teaching a puppy to do or teaching a dog new tricks or teaching a puppy, right? One thing they tell you is, man, keep it fun. Because the moment you try to turn serious is the moment they get stubborn. They don't want to do it no more, right? Again, man, the little ones is the main priority. When you coaching basketball, when you coaching anything, yes, there's a time and place for discipline and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when they're young, super young, you always want to keep it fun. That's what's gonna anchor them. That's it's gonna grow their faith in whatever they're doing, right? That's what's gonna be in them for the longevity, so they can always look back and see where it started. It started from a good place. It started from fun, right? They can associate that. That's why a lot of people in the NBA or in the NFL, they love the game so much because they can tap into when they were little and it was so much fun and it wasn't so much of a business, right? It's the same thing for this truth, man. If you think about it, a lot of us came in during that COVID era when we started taking this thing serious. Not saying that it was fun back then, but it was intriguing enough for us to tap into even right now to be like, dang, 2020 was a time, right? 2020, man, I wish we could go back to in the spirit because it was just a fulfilling fire lit type of spirit going on in that time to where it's anchored us to still be in this thing today. It wasn't built off of lies. It wasn't built off of false prophecies or anything like that. It was just built of a fulfilling spirit, right? And that's one thing we got to realize when we are spreading this gospel to other people, man. We got to make their first experience stick, right? Something that they can always go back to and have as an anchor. And that's this gospel, but we have to present it in a way which, you know what I'm saying, is keeping it fun for them, just like that toddler or that puppy, so to speak, right? But let's go to where are we at? Let's go to Matthew 11 and 28. And just like the brother that DM me, man, or DM me back, that's an example of, you know, keeping it fun, right? I wish I could play the video for you guys, man. It's just too much profanity on there. But you can tell that even with the profanity, the friend was excited to go to church or read the Bible. You could tell the excitement was there. You don't want to kill that excitement. You do not want to kill that excitement. And one thing I want to say is this, man, because this is my last precept. But one thing I want to say is this: I'm making this video, man, because there's a lot of and this precept is going to explain it too. But there's a lot of if I could just outright say, a lot of folly in Israel right now. And you know, from people making diss tracks, Israelite diss tracks. You got, you know, it's really folly to even say can't beef or whatever. You got all these things going on. And then you also got people going back to the world. I watched a video today of Brandon T. Jackson, an interview, and he goes into how he was deeply into this truth, right? And how he felt compelled to go back into the world, so to speak, right? And I was just listening to his journey, and the things that he was saying, man, I really couldn't fault him for. It's not like he because it's not like he denies the truth, right? He still knows it's the truth. He still has morals and principles about him, but he's not faking the funk for nobody anymore. He's choosing to live his life and to live with fear, because he realized that a lot of stuff that goes on in our community is a facade, and it has agendas behind it, right? And I can't really fault him for saying that, because as I'm growing in this truth, I'm starting to see it too, right? And when I say this, man, it's out of a sincere place, man. We got to stop being weird in this truth, and come back to a level of practicality, uh, and apply this truth to our lives, right? On our day-to-day lives. It shouldn't come in and trigger us to operate like cults, to operate in a fake facade type of thing. And I had to examine myself to be like, certain things that we do, is it influenced by other congregations and camps, the way we do it, or is it a genuine thing that we got anchored on, right? And because it's getting to the point where it's like, man, you get to a point where you're maturing and you don't want to do it for men. So to like, you don't want to do it for the approval of who we claim or deem to be, the leaders of the community, but we want to do it for Christ, man. And a lot of times we don't realize Christ doesn't really, he doesn't really ask too much of us, right? He doesn't really, and today, man, we do a lot of things that we don't realize is doctrines of men and not the law of God, right? And a lot of that we bring on ourselves. A lot of that we make vows unaware, and we stick to them, not understanding that we're doing the same thing that our forefathers was doing back then, right? And sometimes, man, it can start get a little weird. And when I say that, man, I'm saying like it can start getting a little cultish, and that's why now we can see people in different organizations and different congregations starting to say some crazy stuff, man. Starting to say some prideful stuff. Starting to say some cultish type stuff, and it was never supposed to be that. We had a conversation at the fair last weekend on Sunday, and we were just talking about how there is it's really only supposed to be one big camp, right? The 12 tribes, you know what I'm saying? We've kind of getting away from that. And like I said, this video is supposed to be like a time capsule video, so we can look back and remember this time and see if we've grown from it in the future. Because I definitely think we need to grow from it, because at this point in time, it's almost looking like the Israelite community is finna crash out, and it's something that we can't have, right? And so I think a goal for me is to make this thing more less weird than it already is, right? Less cultish than it already is. We can still move and operate in a way which is practical and in truth, right? But with that being said, let me read this last precept for you guys. It's Matthew 11 and 28. If one of you guys want to read that for me.
The book of Matthew, chapter 11 to 28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
Right, man. Christ is saying, come unto him, man, for all that labor and heavy laden, and he will give you rest, man. This truth, this gospel should be about rest. It shouldn't be bringing you headaches. It shouldn't be bringing you controversy, right? it shouldn't. Man, I seen a sister do a 2 hour video saying how she used to beat on her husband and how he cheated on her, da, 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 and she crying throughout the video, right? That shouldn't be happening if you come into Christ, right? He's supposed to be giving us rest, right? Keep reading real quick.
Verse 29. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls.
Right?
For my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
His yoke should be easy. His burden should be light, right? And so if you don't feel like this gospel is easy and light upon you, right? It's time to examine yourself, examine your surroundings, the people you're hanging around, the person you're with, right? The person you're thinking about marrying, right? Because at the end of the day, it should be a easy yoke, nonetheless, and a light burden, right? We know it's gonna come with some things, but let's not try to make it weird. Let's not try to make it cultish, right? Let's break out of that and rein this thing back in and make it more enjoyable for those that are coming in and for them, and clean up our act so that we don't scare them away, so to speak, right? Just to plainly put it out there, right? But that's
and also too, know that some of the people that you look up to in the world and in this truth, in the community, and in your peer circle, the people that you look up to, the people that you learn from, know that a lot of them are doing exactly what you're doing, trying to get it right. A lot of them are, um, are reading the scriptures and trying to understand it to the best of their ability and trying to apply it the best way they know how, just like you, right? So if they make a mistake, don't let that push you away from the Bible, right? If they contradict themselves, just know that they're trying to get it right like you. So having a respect of persons, right, can make your burden heavy, right, when really your burden is supposed to be light. And that's why we're supposed to rely on the Holy Spirit to teach us all things and to be our comforter.
God, I wanted to add too, we living in a time where everybody wants to be right, nobody wants to be wrong. So we just got to kind of remember, Galatians 6:1-3, man, and just kind of understand that, we are all striving to do the will of the Most High God, like the brother just eloquently stated, to the best of our abilities. So a lot of times we make it harder on ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not even gonna say that because the brother's already covered it. So all I'm gonna say is, in closing, that at the end of the day, if you're watching this video, just let this video serve as a reminder for you to, always approach other brothers and sisters with practicality, and always understand that, again, we're all striving to be on the same page, no matter what camp you're from, what organization you're with. It doesn't matter who you're from. If you're claiming that the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the one true God, when you teaching that we should be keeping the laws, you teaching that we're the Jews, then everything else can always be worked out on the back end, man. But hopefully, brothers can watch this video because it was beautiful.
I wanted to bring out one precept before we close too.
What is it?
I'm getting it. Right. The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 3, it says, and has borne and has patience, and for my name's sake has labored and has not fainted. Right. Verse 4, nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee because thou hast left thy first love. I'm bringing this up because a lot of us feel like we've labored. A lot of us feel like we've went hard for the Lord, but a lot of us, like the brother said, you'll see people start going back into the world and start doing bad habits that they know they shouldn't do, that aren't expedient for them. And they forget their first love. They forget how excited they were. They forget how once upon a time they were one of those little ones that was coming into this truth, and they was on 10 for it, right? So don't forget your first love, man, because you don't want Christ to have somewhat bad feelings towards you because he feels like your passion for him died down. In married relationships, um, a lot of times you'll have women and men kind of not arguing, but always talking about you don't do this for me anymore. I feel like our relationship has died down. We got too much going on. We need to make time for us. I feel like the fire's not there. Well, Christ is saying the same thing, right? Christ is saying, hey, look, don't forget about me. Don't forget about when you first met me. Don't forget about when I first proposed to you, right? In this truth, you know what I'm saying? It's a long ride, but it's also a short ride. And we just got to hold on, you know what I'm saying, and do the best we can. Because
Come on, man. You gotta understand, man. Again, in relationships where you about to be with somebody, right? Something that has been a tradition or a custom in marriages nowadays is what? The honeymoon, right? The honeymoon, you go on, right after you get married, to create memories immediately, and it's supposed to be good memories, right? We also have the honeymoon stage. These are all things that you can reflect back to, right? That's going to anchor you in the future, the good times, right? Back when things was fun, back when things was light, you know what I'm saying? The enjoyable memories of that person that you're with, that's gonna help sustain you. These things were supposed to help sustain you in your marriage, right? The honeymoon stage when you guys were all lovey-dovey, the actual honeymoon if you went on one, right? I didn't get to go on one, but you know what I'm saying? I definitely had a honeymoon stage, right? These things were meant to look back on to anchor you. And so, man, keep that in mind when you spreading this gospel, man, that, the first impressions, I know coming into this thing, a lot of brothers have different feelings about what I'm about to say. But first impressions are everything, man, and I definitely think that maturing in this truth, I think we all can come to that realization, and kind of sympathize with the little ones that are out there that we're trying to reach, right? Sympathize with them. And that just like I got to keep reminding myself when I'm teaching my daughter things to keep it fun, I got to remind myself with these little ones that's out here that don't know the truth to keep it fun for them, right? I got to keep reminding myself, even though I want to get frustrated sometimes, I got to keep reminding myself, just keep it fun. It'll come. It'll come. That passion for it will come, right? A lot of times you think about situations where somebody wants their kid to be something so bad, whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, or a ball player, and they just go so hard that the kid falls out of love with that thing or never gets a love for it, right? Because they see it as a punishment all the time. That's one thing we can't do with this gospel, right? And that would be mishandling it, right? And that would, like Peter Parker said, he said, "We think I'm gonna be a criminal now that I got this power?" A lot of us become criminal to our own people, unaware and don't even know it. And we do the same thing that Peter Parker did to his uncle or whatever, right? I keep saying grandfather, but his uncle. We do the same thing that he did to his uncle, man. We get out the car, slam the door, and be like, "Man, crazy, man. I'm gonna keep doing me." You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing we got to get away from. But that's all I got. If you guys got anything else, let me know.
Yeah, remember, hey man, we all equals, man. No man greater than the next man, especially in this walk. You've been in this truth 30 years. You've been in this truth 50, 60 years. You've been in this truth 1 year. You've been in this truth 1 hour, 1 minute. You know what I'm saying? We all on an even playing field because we all supposed to be lifting each other up, right? So best thing to do is always remember, don't be a burden unto yourself, man, by burdening your people, right? Just make it harder for you.
Come on.
But mighty lesson.
Come on. Mighty point. Come on, man. What if that's all, man? Like I said, this is kind of a time capsule video, man, that we can just put out there just to show the state of the being of our nation, man, and just to go on record and say, how we feel about it and the direction we want to take in it. You know what I'm saying? Repairing the breach, not only for the lost sheep, but the people that are supposed to be woke, right? But with all praises and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we do say Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to all of those that are keeping the Sabbath. And remember, if you're not gathering, you're scattering by default, right? And that's one thing this video was geared toward, was helping to gather, right, in different ways and new approaches that we can do take to achieve that. But with that, man, we say Shalom. See you guys next time. Lord willing, we can get on tomorrow.
Shalom. Be on tomorrow.